Hey guys, and welcome back to Battlefront Updates. Today I've got a bit of a different video, as I was actually a guest on the Star Wars Battlefront podcast the other day, and part of that podcast will be in this video. But if you guys want to hear the rest of it when we talked about how we want the next Battlefront game to be, you can find a link to the full podcast in the description below. But in my part, we're discussing the ERAS and what ERAS we can expect to get in the next game, the potential title for the next Star Wars Battlefront game, as well as some Last Jedi talk and some other things regarding Battlefront. So, enjoy the discussion, and as I mentioned, if you want to hear the full thing, make sure to check out the link in the description below.
What do you think multiple eras means? I mean, that is very vague. It could mean prequel, it could mean Rogue One era, which is prequel still, and then sequel trilogy as well as original trilogy.
I think it's really hard to say. I mean, they've been teasing. I remember back from the E3 trailer last year. I mean, Sigurlina, she said like, "Oh, multiple eras." Like it's been something that they've said for a while, and like it's obvious ones are original trilogy and sequel trilogy. So those two are guaranteed gonna be. We've already seen some First Order TIE fighters, so that's going to be in the game. But the Clone Wars is I mean, that's the question. Clone Wars or not Clone Wars? It's really hard to say. They've been quiet. They haven't said anything about Clone Wars at all. They like in general, Disney hasn't really created a lot of, like, all the books are after original trilogy. All the games have been after original trilogy, except for like Galaxy of Heroes, where they've added some characters.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to say. I think that if they do have Clone Wars, it's something they know the community wants it so much that they will really treat it well, and they will have it as a big surprise, which is why they've had some slight hints for the next game, but it's just been by sequel era so far.
Yeah. I would rather them not have prequel trilogy in this game and then Battlefront 3 just be prequel trilogy, because the prequel trilogy has so much content in there. I am so sorry for the person who has to go in there and pick and choose what's going to be from the prequel era. I mean, my goodness, there's so much stuff that they could expand upon. They could mess up, like maybe the community wants this character and they chose this character, like Battlefront 1 did. But like, what would they choose to add into that? Would they choose Revenge of the Sith? Or would they go with episode 1, episode 2? Personally, I think that they would do episode 3.
I don't think they would. If they did Clone Wars, I think they would probably look across the whole prequels and be like, pick out the goodies, you know? I don't think they would base it off a particular movie. But when you talked about like Battlefront 3, and I agree that they should either just completely fill out the original trilogy and sequel era in this game and then make a full-out prequel game after that. Or they could, if they go with more like the Destiny style, they could have a little bit from all eras and then fill that out. Because the good thing with that is that then they can actually see what the community wants the most and then add that in. So it's like two different approaches to the game. Because I mean, like you said, the worst thing that could happen is they add the Clone Wars, but they cover like 5% of what's in the Clone Wars, so everyone's gonna be pissed off that they only took some stuff from it. Like they only took 2 or 4 heroes from the prequel era, and then they add a few paid DLCs, and then they make another game, and then it's gonna feel like, why did you even add it in the first place? You could have just made an entire game for it. Like every Clone Wars episode could be like their own DLC almost.
Yeah.
There's just always some new characters, some new planets. There's like, I don't know how many planets that series spans across, but like I'm just thinking about like Umbara or whatever it's called. Like, so I played a Battlefront 2 mod for that, which was pretty sweet, and like that could be an entire DLC, Umbara, and that's like, I must probably though, although I mean, have you watched the Clone Wars as well?
Yes.
Yeah, like I'm guessing that if they do add prequel era, it's probably mostly gonna be things from the movies, because although the Clone Wars were popular, they want to cater to as many people as possible, and I mean, there's obviously more people who watch the movies compared to the cartoons, so they would probably pick from the planets in the movie first and fill those out, and then they could maybe expand to the Clone Wars series, if it's gonna be in a game.
And then there's also the Rebels series that they have taken a lot of inspiration from in this Battlefront. I could see them adding that. Maybe that's what they mean by multiple eras. They're going to have Rebels, they're going to have original trilogy, and then they're going to have sequel trilogy.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Because, like, they use Rebels for inspiration with Lando's weapon. Like, it was introduced in Rebels. They've mentioned Rebels in a lot of the different weapons. So I could definitely see them adding that. But how would you handle the realism of a cartoon character is the problem.
I'm not sure, like, I'm thinking like seeing Ezra or Zeb, I don't know. I mean, it's still seeing them in a like a live action. If they would have appeared in Rogue One, that would have been really weird.
Yes.
But I think they could probably fit in Battlefront. It would be cool to see a more realistic version of them. Although, I don't know, I'm trying to think if that's happened. Has there been anything that's been shown in the cartoons first? I know Saw Gerrera was in Clone Wars, but he looked completely different in because he was like 20 years later or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know if there was any other characters. It was usually the other way around. They took something from the movies and then added it to the series. So you're right that that would be a little bit strange. Although I think it's a good idea that if they want to have more content but not have the prequels, they could have like Rogue One, Rebels, original trilogy, sequel trilogy, and that would still be a lot of content.
Yeah, the only character I could think of that was introduced in the animated and then brought over to live action was Chopper, but he's a droid.
Oh yeah, that's true. And that was just a short like cameo we saw.
Yeah, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, I've seen it afterwards. I missed it.
Yeah. But going into like what we said earlier, what would you like to see them cherry pick from the sequel trilogy and bring to Battlefront 2?
I feel like they don't have to cherry pick so much because there's not too much content. Like because I don't think Episode 8 is gonna be in the release because that feels like it's just gonna be, especially if they release it before, it's just gonna be too hard to keep it on a level where it won't spoil the movie, but it will still be representative. So I think it's just gonna be like, let's say for the Rebel side, I'm assuming we would have Finn and Rey, of course, and then I would probably, depending on how they handle other characters, they might just take the young Leia and Han and Chewie, and then if in the Imperial side we have General Hux, Captain Phasma, Kylo Ren, and I think that would be in terms of heroes, that would be kind of enough if they still fill out with original trilogy. Probably maybe some Rebels or Rogue One and possibly even prequel. Then they don't really need more from the sequel trilogy. But I do think there's a lot of interesting planets like Takodana, Starkiller Base. What other planets do we have in the sequel trilogy?
See, Jakku, Takodana. We have Starkiller Base. Is that it?
Wait, no. What's the planet that the Rebel base is on again?
Oh, yeah.
Because that one looks fairly similar to Takodana, but it looks a little bit like Yavin 4 almost. Why? They aren't actually... Oh, it's the Hosnian system, that's right.
Yes.
What's that? No, the car. The planet was called the DQR. The car, I don't know how to pronounce that really, but...
Yeah, okay.
So that's a couple of planets with some fairly interesting environments, because they're not really... Neither Takodana or Dakar are like Endor. They're more open but still have some trees. Yeah. So I think like at least one of those two would definitely be in the game, and then Starkiller Base.
Starkiller Base would be so awesome.
Maybe you could see it like fire in the background, or like a timer. Like if you fail, they could have like, a game mode where it's actually maybe not exactly like in movies, because that would be kind of boring, but just something where if you fail this, you're gonna see Starkiller Base blow something up. Yeah, I was really. Disappointed when you win as the Rebels on the Death Star that the Death Star doesn't blow up. Or wait. Yeah. I mean the Death Star does. It does blow up. Or you mean that if you win as the Imperials, it doesn't blow up a planet? Yeah. I want them to blow up that planet in the background. I remember that was one of the things we said at that Game Changer, or actually the events for the DLCs were just before the release, so they weren't really for feedback but more for capture. And we were like, why doesn't it blow up? We wanted to blow up something. Yes. We just beat off the rebel fighters and it doesn't blow up. Yeah, and I think they still haven't said officially what the planet.
Yeah.
Well, they've been very vague. Like they said, I think Dennis and Paul was like, yeah, it's a new planet, and I think even Pablo Hidalgo said some stuff on Twitter like, maybe we'll see it sometime, but for now it's gonna be unnamed.
Yeah.
So it would be pretty cool if they decide to introduce it in either like upcoming movies, series, or even in the comics. It's some way to just link it together. It might be a little bit late now, since now it's kind of like, oh, who cares about the old Death Star DLC when the new game is out? But but still, it was interesting.
Yeah, I asked Dennis Brownvall about that, and he was just like, we're not talking about that right now. Yeah, so definitely be cool to see that crossover. Like maybe, like Sullust was mentioned many times in the books and different, mentioned in the movies as well. And then we get it fleshed out in Battlefront. That would be cool to see in Battlefront 2. Maybe we get to see this planet that as Star Wars fans we know, but we never get to see.
Yeah, I agree. I like that it fleshed out. That's something I liked with the game, that it fleshed out both planets and heroes that has very little screen time, if any at all.
Yeah.
Like didn't care at all about Ninab or Dengar or Bosk before I started playing Battlefront, whereas now they're like my favorite characters because I can relate to them because I played the game.
So now let's go into Star Wars Battlefront 2 or Star Wars subtitle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would be a good idea for them to say, like, maybe it's Star Wars Battlefront, what was it, the Revenge of the First Order? Wasn't that?
Oh, Wrath of the First Order. You mean that leak?
Yeah, that leak. I don't like that name in particular, but I think it would be cool to see a subtitle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it depends on a lot of things. Like, I feel like, first of all, if they don't cover the prequels and they have it more based on the sequels and original, they could have a more specific title. And I also think that often they have the titles based on the campaigns. So if they would have a campaign that's entirely focused around one era, they could have a subtitle after that. And then, sure, like the title is going to be about sequel era because that's where the campaign is, but there's still going to be original trilogy in the multiplayer part. So that's the thing. That's when I think it's going to be a subtitle. But if they do cover the entire span of all eras, then I think they might just call it Star Wars Battlefront 2 because it's going to be weird to have a specific title. Like what Star Wars Battlefront everything, or like what are they going to call it? Like, so I think it depends on how many eras they cover. I think that's going to decide on what the name is going to be.
Star Wars Battlefront Galaxy of War.
Yeah, like Star Wars Battlefront Galaxy of Heroes. They just steal from the mobile game.
Yeah. The thing I don't like about the Wrath of the First Order is the fact that it's focusing only on the First Order. Like, if they were to have a subtitle, I'd rather have it focus mainly on both sides, because that'd be kind of weird just to say Star Wars Battlefront Wrath of the First Order when you're playing as the Resistance.
Yeah, that's true. But that's probably, like, I thought if that's gonna be the title, which that leak I think was already proven to be false. But even if that was a title, I think that would be like when I mentioned about the campaign. If it was called Wrath of the First Order, it would probably be a campaign where you play as, like, it would be cool. Imagine if the campaign was Finn, but you started like a lot earlier. Like you got to play him before he turned, and then you play him. So you kind of built upon the story in the movie. I mean, I don't think he did much interesting stuff, considering that the Battle on Jakku was his first real one. But still, like, they could, like, or maybe like General Hux following him along. I don't know, but that's what I think. If it would be called Wrath of the First Order, it would be a First Order based campaign simply.
The problem with Battlefront 2 is that it would like run into the same problem that Star Wars Battlefront has. Is it's the same name as the original games.
Yeah, that's definitely. They would have, like, here's a Star Wars Battlefront 1, 2, but we have Star Wars Battlefront 2 as well. We have like 4 games with 2 names. That would be very confusing, especially when you make YouTube videos with titles and stuff.
Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA, Star Wars Battlefront 2 Pandemic.
Exactly, that would be something you had to do.
Yeah. it's just like there are upsides and downsides to them naming it Star Wars Battlefront. The upside is, hey, you get all the people that really liked the Star Wars Battlefront originals, and then you get those people to play your game. But then you also get, this isn't anything like Battlefront. Why did you choose that name? But I think it would work both ways to have a subtitle, because like it isn't Star Wars Battlefront 1, it's Star Wars Battlefront, and then they could do Star Wars Battlefront whatever. One last thing. What do you think of the Last Jedi name?
I think it's fairly. It's a good name. I mean, I'm hoping. I don't know if you watched Alex's video. I liked his theory a lot, where the Last Jedi would be not that all the good lightsaber wielders will die out, but more of like the fact that Luke is gonna be the last. Oh wait, they confirmed it to be multiple. That's right. So that it's probably Rey and Luke.
Yeah.
But still, that they would be the last Jedi in terms of, like, okay, Luke trained those Jedi, the new Jedi Order, but that failed, and they turned to the dark side and became, what are they called again? The Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, we gotta move away from the old ways of the Jedi and create something new with not as strict rules, which I've always disliked about the Jedi. Like, oh, you can't kill this guy. He murdered 3 planets, but you can't kill him because that's not the Jedi way. Like, that whole thing is, you can still be good, but you can kill people. Like, that's just, look at Batman or whatever. Like, yeah, I think that, like, I think that's what I think about the title. That it means that it's gonna be, they're gonna remake the way they train the good light side force wielders, simply.
They're not going, it's not going to be the Jedi anymore. It's going to be something different, and like
exactly. They had the Knights of Ren. I was going to be like the Guardians of Luke. I don't know.
Yeah. Didn't you see how Anakin turned out when you wouldn't let him have a lady?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The
like,
Jedi.
He destroyed the Jedi Order because of that.
Exactly. It's don't. Yeah, that's why the Jedi has failed once. Don't let him do it again. So that's what I hope and think that title means.
Yeah, I'm still not used to The Last Jedi. I'm still like episode 8.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I call it episode 8 as well. That's like, yeah. I still say episode 7, episode 8 more than I say Force Awakens or Last Jedi.
And that is all for this video. If you want to hear the rest of it, make sure to check out the link in the description below. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.